We're going to start in a semi-supine position, so lying down on the ground or on your mat. We're going to be here for a little while, perhaps 10 minutes. We're going to do a breathing practice. So feel free to keep socks on, grab a blanket. It's getting a little bit cooler, although there's some sunshine today, but perhaps inside it's a little bit cool. So if that's the case, make sure that you're warm and grab any support you need, perhaps a pillow to pop under your knees or under the back of the head, perhaps a scarf or an eye bag over your eyes. So just take a minute or two to settle down. And as soon as you're there, as soon as you've arrived, you might like to begin by sighing the breath away. Letting go of your morning, letting go of last night and yesterday and the day before that. And just taking a moment to check in with yourself, to note how you are feeling in mind and body this morning. Have a sense that you are here properly, a sense of being here deliberately, definitely. You might like to say to yourselves as you breathe in, I have arrived. And as you breathe out, I am home. Feel that you have arrived. And having arrived, give yourself permission to stop fully and completely. Just stop. Let your body, mind, and heart rest in this place, in this moment. Letting go, letting go, letting go. Right now, our world has been put on pause, and we are being asked to slow down, to simplify, whether we like it or not, whether we find that easy or challenging. It is a time to step back, take inventory, and think about who we were coming into this pandemic and who we will be coming out. It is an opportunity to reprioritize and refocus, to ask questions about how we've been living and to look at whether we've been living a balanced lifestyle, whether we've been living in a way that is beneficial to our overall health and well-being, as well as the health and well-being of the planet. It would be wise of us to ponder these questions. In fact, this self-study and self-reflection is part of our practice called svadhyaya in Sanskrit. And it's made more potent by picking up an ancient text, whether it's the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, the Bhagavad Gita, the I Ching, the Bible, the Quran, to help us understand some universal truths about pain and suffering. So the practice this morning is about honoring the pause, a moment of stillness and quiet where there is no activity, no stimulation, no chatter, just the opportunity to be, to dwell in silence. And this isn't always easy. In his book called Silence, Thich Nhat Hanh says that most of us live on a steady diet of noise. He says, unless you live alone in the mountains without electricity, chances are you're absorbing a constant stream of noise and information all day long without interruption. Even if no one is speaking to you and you're not listening to the radio or some other sound system, there are billboards, telephone calls, text messages, social media, computer screens, bills, flyers, and many other ways that words and sounds reach us. Even in those rare moments when there is no sound, text, or other information coming in from outside, our heads are filled with a constant loop of thought. How many minutes each day, if any, do you spend in true quiet? Silence is essential. We need silence just as much as we need air, just as much as plants need light. If our minds are crowded with words and thoughts, there is no space for us. He also says it's very important that we relearn the art of resting and relaxing. Not only does it help prevent the onset of many illnesses that develop through chronic tension and worrying, it allows us to clear our minds, focus, and find creative solutions to problems. So today we are dwelling in the pause, exploring the pause, spending time with the pause. And one of the most beautiful ways we can do this is with the breath. So I invite you, if you're lying down now, to step your feet up close to the buttocks. Just settle the back, particularly the lower back. And I invite you to rest one hand over the belly, the other hand over your spiritual heart center. Just try to relax the shoulders and the elbows. Keep the eyes closed if that's comfortable. We're going to begin by taking a few conscious breaths into the heart space. So feel the chest lift as you breathe in. And we're going to allow the exhalation to come from the belly. So as you exhale, feel that you're emptying from the lower areas of the lungs and the hand on the belly sinks down a little. So we're breathing into the heart space, the chest lifts, rises up towards the sky. And as we exhale, we empty from the belly. Work with this a few more times, not trying too hard. So there should be no force or strain. Just allow the breath to flow in like a wave in the ocean. That sense of filling, opening, expanding. And as we exhale, we empty from the bottom lobes of the lungs, the belly sinks, the hand on the belly drops, the wave recedes. So a couple more. Inhale, heart, chest lifts. And as we exhale, we empty from the belly. Good. Now, the next direction is to allow a little space to be there at the top of the inhale. So breathe in and see if you can allow a little pause, a little gap, maybe 1 second. Some of you, it might be up to 5 or 6 seconds, no force to be there. And then you allow the exhalation to come. So we're concentrating at this moment on that pause at the top of the inhale. So let's work with 4 or 5 more breaths in this way. A moment of stillness, of silence, a little gap, a little space before the exhalation comes. Try to dwell in this space. Those of you who have had much more experience with this, as I mentioned, you can really start to extend the pause through the practice today. If this is a new idea to you, it might just be a microsecond. Sometimes we can feel a bit anxious with the pauses. So if that's the case, that's okay. Just a brief little tiny moment before the exhalation comes. But see if you can focus on this space, this little pause, as though it's the most interesting, fascinating space you've ever come across. One more breath in this way. Good. Okay. Now, the second part of this practice is to change now our focus to a pause after the exhalation. So I want you to breathe in, just a normal inhalation into the heart space, feel the chest lift, and then exhale straight away and pause. Again, it might just be a little microsecond. Some of you, it might be longer. When you need to, inhale, exhale, and pause. Continue with this, another 4 or 5 breaths, dwelling in that space at the end of the exhalation. Again, if it makes you feel a bit anxious, just a tiny, tiny little microsecond, a tiny bit of space. Otherwise, you can start to extend that pause. If the mind wanders, which is quite normal, if you get distracted by a creak in your house or a sound outside or inside the house, quite normal. Just gently guide your awareness back to the breath again and again. Staying with the pause at the end of the exhalation. Make sure you're not starting to tense the body, tense the shoulders, tense the face, soften and relax the jaws. One more breath in this way. And then just take a normal breath or two. Now, there's a third part to this practice, and that is to Allow some space to be there at the top of the inhale and also at the end of the exhale. So we're not really worrying too much about the breath. We're concentrating on that gap between the breaths, between the inhale and the exhale. So when you're ready, inhale and pause. And when you need to, let the exhalation come and pause empty. Maybe a second, maybe 8 seconds. Again, breathe in and pause. And when you need to, breathe out and pause empty. Do a few more of these in your own time. If you're getting a bit flustered, a bit anxious, just drop the practice for now. Release your arms down by your side. Sigh the breath away. As you work with this, you might notice that it's easier for you to pause after the inhale. So again, that's a little bit of information we perhaps didn't know before today. What can I learn about myself and my breath this morning? Have that curiosity, that wonder this morning. This is interesting. What can I learn? Or perhaps for some of you, it's easier to allow the pause to extend after the exhale. There's no right or wrong. All of us are different with this. Work with one more breath. And then release your arms down by your side. If it's okay to do so, stretch your legs away. And on your next inhale, stretch your arms up overhead. If you can, a little pause here at the top of the inhale, lungs full. And when you need to, exhale, release your arms down and pause empty if you can. Do 2 more of these. Breathe in, stretch the arms overhead. And when you need to, exhale, lower the arms and pause empty if you can. 1 more of these. And then when you're ready, we're going to move into the banana pose. So you will need to remove any eye bags or little pillows or cushions under the knees, or probably blankets as well. See how you go. And when you're ready, take the arms up overhead as we've been doing. But this time as you exhale, let the arms rest overhead. Now, if you're not familiar with the banana pose, you can have a look. We're going to walk both feet over to the bottom left-hand corner and both hands over to the top left-hand corner. So we're creating the shape of a banana with the body, or the shape of the letter C. The feet are flexed, and hopefully you're feeling a lovely stretch down this right side of the body. Tuck the chin forward and just begin to breathe into that right side. If it feels okay to do so, continuing to allow a little pause to be there at the top of the inhale. And a little pause, a little gap at the end of the exhale. So we're really slowing down the breath. If you'd like to make this stretch a little stronger, cross your right ankle over the left and hold the right wrist with the left hand. Try to relax that right shoulder down towards the floor. Face relaxed. Good. Now let's uncross the legs, release the wrist, walk yourself back to center, and then we do the same to the other side. So walk the feet over to the bottom right-hand corner, Hands over to the top right-hand corner, feet are flexed, chin tucks forward, and starting to breathe into that left side of the body now. How does this side feel compared to the right side? Might feel quite different. Try to relax the left shoulder. If you'd like to intensify the stretch, cross the left ankle over the right. Hold the left wrist with your right hand. Good. And then uncross your legs, release the wrist, come back to center. Release your arms down, bring the knees in, wrap your arms around or under the legs, and let's rock gently from side to side. Let's roll over to one side and come up carefully into a seated position to work with our chant, Sahana Vavatu. So feel free to chant along or just listen if you prefer. Nice straight spine. You might like to bring your hands into a mudra position if you're not sure. Perhaps bringing the tips of the index fingers and thumbs to touch. Palms can be up or down. Just relax the shoulders. Heart is open. Just close the eyes. I'd like to sigh the breath away. And then breathing in. Om Sahana Bhavatu. Sahana Bhunaktu. Sahaviryam Karavavahai. Tejasvi Navaditamastu. Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Sahana Bhavatu. Sahana Bhunaktu. Sahaviryam Karavavahai. Tejasvi Navaditamastu. Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Sahana Bhavatu. Sahana Bhunaktu. Sahaviryam Karavavahai. Tejasvi Navaditamastu. Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Going to move straight into a variation of cat, where we do it in a seated position. So you can be kneeling or have the legs stretched out, or as I am, in a cross-legged position. As we exhale, we're going to round the back. You can even do this standing if you prefer. Look down towards your heart. And as you breathe in, we move from the lower part of the spine first. Head moves last. Chest moves forward, shoulders back. Exhale from the lower part of the spine first. Head moves last. We round the back. Breathe in. Shoulders back. Heart moves forward. Breathe out. Okay, do a few more. You can do this really slowly, or some of you might feel nice to speed it up a little bit, depending on how warm you are, the body. how the back is feeling this morning. Good, last one. And come back to a neutral spine. We're going to go into wheeling the body, where we circle the upper part of the body. So you can do this cross-legged or perhaps with the legs in a diamond shape. See how you go, even you can do this seated in a chair. So hands are lightly on the knees, nice straight spine. And we're going to start to circle in an anti-clockwise direction to begin. So we come forward, we come around to the side, and we circle back and around to the other side. So nice, slow circles. Eyes can be open or closed. If they're closed, you might like to gaze at the center of the forehead, at your third eye. And you also might like to rest the tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth, just behind the front teeth. So quietening the tongue and quietening the eyes can help us quieten the mind. Good. Now, the next time you come down over that right knee, bring the arms forward. Try to bring this left buttock cheek down to the ground. If you're like me, it wants to lift up. So try to bring it back down. And then from here, we're going to bring the arms, or slide the arms, the hands around the front as far as we can to the left. We lift the right arm up and the left arm follows. So we're making nice circles with the arms. Slide them or walk them around the front as far as you can to the left. Lift the right arm up, left arm follows. Let's do one more. Right arm lifts, left arm follows. Good. Come back to center, lift yourself up. Now, if you're cross-legged, we need to change the cross of the legs. If you're in a diamond shape, you can just stay as you are. Hands on the knees, nice straight spine, relax the shoulders. And this time we circle in a clockwise direction. So this is a beautiful practice for loosening up the lower part of the spine, improving mobility in the lower part of the spine. It also gives the lower abdominal area a lovely massage. The bowel. Make sure you're not clenching the teeth. Keep the face soft. Perhaps directing your gaze to the center of the forehead to help quieten the mind. Next time you come down over that left knee, let's walk the hands forward. Now again, watch the tendency for that right buttock to lift off. Can you bring it back down to connect with the ground? And then we're going to slide or walk the hands around the front as far as we can to the right. Lift the left arm up, right arm follows. Two more. And then gently coming back to center. We're going to change our position. We're going to lie down onto our tummies. So come around onto the front. Just rest one hand on top of the other to begin. Your chin or your forehead on your hands. Your feet are hip width apart. We're going to do a couple of back strengthening poses. This first one is a variation of Shalabhasana locust. So we're going to extend the arms above the head. The hands are at least shoulder width apart. Feet are hip width or even a bit wider if the lower back's feeling a bit tender this morning. Let's exhale all breath here. As we breathe in, we're going to lift left arm, head, and left leg. Perhaps a little pause and lower. And perhaps pausing empty just for a second or two. Again on the left side, breathe in. Lift the left arm, head, left leg. And lower. Pause empty. One more, same side. And lower. We'll go straight onto the other side. Right arm, right leg. And lower. Two more. Now we're going to do a diagonal stretch. So when you're ready, left arm and right leg. And lower. Two more. Left arm, right leg, stretching fingertips and toes in opposite directions. And lower. Last one. And down. Swapping over, right arm, left leg. And lower. Pause empty. Two more. Good. When you finish that, we're lifting both arms and legs, stretching through the body and lower. Pause empty. Two more. Inhale, lift. See if you can pause for a second or two. And then exhale, lower. And pause empty. Last one. And this time when you finish, again, rest one hand on top of the other, your chin or your forehead on your hands. If the lower back's feeling a bit tender, just bend the lower legs and swing them from side to side. Okay, we're going to move into Crocodile, Makarasana. So again, feet can be hip width or even wider if the lower back's feeling a bit tender this morning. Those of you with super strong backs, your feet can be together. And we're going to come up onto our forearms. So resting the palms of the hands together. Now, if this feels a little bit strong for your back, just walk the hands out a little bit. We're going to stay for at least a minute, but if you need to come down early, just come down to rest with your forehead on your hands. If possible, try to soften in the pose here a little. Check for any areas that feel a little bit tense. Just see if you can soften, the face relaxed, perhaps closing the eyes. And you might like to incorporate a visualization. So take your awareness to the lower part of the spine. And as you breathe in, visualize or imagine the breath traveling up your spine, one vertebra at a time, right up to the base of the skull. Pause there for a second or two. And as you exhale, your awareness travels back down the spine, vertebra by vertebra. And you pause empty at the base of the spine. So drawing your awareness up the spine as you inhale. And when you need to exhale, let it flow your awareness down the spine and pause empty. Perhaps another 3 or 4 breaths in this way. So in yoga, we believe that it's in this pause, in the gap, the space, that we can connect with our true, authentic self. Known in the Yoga Sutras as Atman, also referred to as Sakshi, those of you who were with me on Saturday for Saturday's practice. This pause is a very sacred, precious place to dwell. Just make this your last round of breath. And if you haven't already, gently come down to the floor just for a moment. And then we're going to bring the hands alongside the chest, tuck the elbows in, and we're going to push into child pose. So bend the legs, big toes touch, knees are wide apart. Keep the arms extending forward. If the lower back feels quite tender, you can make fists with the hands and give the lower back a little bit of a rub. And then in this new position, find your breath and see if you can spend some time in the pauses after the inhale and after the exhalation. Notice your experience in the pause. Let's start to add some movement now. So exhale all breath. On your next inhalation, come up into cat. Pause at the top. So it might just be a second or 2 or 3 or 4. When you need to exhale, round the back and drop back into child and pause empty. And then when it's time, inhale back into cat. Heart leads, face relaxed, pausing full. Rounding the back, exhale back into child. And pause empty. Do a few more. It's not a competition though, so don't think that if you can only pause for a second that there's something wrong with you, or just try to relax. And even if it is a second, that's gold. Just be in that space, in that pause. Enjoy that gap. Try to watch the tendency of the mind to make a judgment about how you're practicing. Just let that judgment go. Keep coming back to the practice, back to the breath again and again. Okay, after your next exhalation and you're in child, we're going to change it now. So on the next inhale, you lift into cat, pausing, tuck your toes and move into down face dog pose and pause empty. When you need to, come back down into cat, pause and exhale into child and pause empty. You can take catch-up breaths if you need to. Again, breathe into cat and pause Down face dog pose and pause empty. Into cat. And child. Let's do one more. When you finish, rest for a moment in child. Going to move into elephant, but if you have any sinus congestion or bit of a headache, you may not want to, or any sort of shoulder or wrist issues, you may prefer not to stay in elephant. You may just like to do a few more rounds of cat. Otherwise, elephant, we're going to take the hands out so that the little fingers touch the edges of the mat. So a little bit more than shoulder width apart if you haven't got a mat. I know some of you don't. And the feet, again, are wider than hip width. If you've got a mat, the little toes touch the edges of the mat. So it's a wider stance. Then we lift our knees, we lift our hips, and we come on up into our beautiful elephant pose. And we're going to hold this. Just focusing on each inhalation and each exhalation. Perhaps a little pause at the top of the inhale and at the end of the exhale. So please come down to rest in child pose at any point if you've had enough. Otherwise, we'll stay another 2 or 3 more breaths. When you do come down, you might like to rest your arms alongside you to completely rest the arms and the shoulders. Otherwise, you can make fists with the hands and rest your forehead on your fists. And then gently sitting up. We're going to go through a few rounds of a kneeling salute. Been doing these quite regularly, so hopefully you're feeling you've got the hang of it if it was new to you, this practice. So either starting down here, or if it's better for you, this can be your start position. So nice straight spine, shoulders relaxed, heart lifting, face just soft, and exhale all breath here. Breathing in. Breathing out. Inhale, cat. Just a little pause at the top of the inhale. Down face dog pose, a little pause at the end of the exhale. Back into cat. Into child. Now we're sliding along the floor, coming through into Bhujangasana, cobra. So maybe staying low. Some of you might be able to come up a bit higher. That's okay for your back. Into child. Pause empty. Inhale. Pause full. And exhale. So we're really slowing the practice down when we work with the pauses. Breathe in. Pause empty. Inhale, cat. Down face dog pose. Pause empty. Back into cat and child. Coming through into Cobra, Bhujangasana. Elbows tucked in. Back into child. One more. Pauseful. Watch the tendency to rush through the practices, to rush through life. Pause empty. Rest the hands at the heart space. You might like to sigh the breath away. Just relax your shoulders, soften the face. Good. And release. Okay, we're going to work with it's an upper body strengthening practice. So again, any wrist or shoulder issues, you may prefer not to do this. So you can rest in child pose, put your legs up the wall if you like, or even do a bit more crocodile, come to lie down onto your tummy and do that. So either rest or find some other alternative that you'd like to work with. So we haven't done this in these online classes, this one. And those of you who practice with me regularly, we haven't done this for a long time at all. So I rediscovered it yesterday when I was going through some old notes. And I thought, oh, that would be good. Actually, a student asked me about some poses to strengthen the core. So this was a bit inspired by that. So we're going to have a go at this one, and then also a plank, which is fantastic for our upper body strength and our core. So if you'd like to just watch this first one and then have a go, let's see how we go with it. So the hands are a little further forward. They're not directly under the shoulders as they normally are when we work with cat or tiger. So a little further forward. As we inhale, we extend one leg back and we flex the foot, trying not to do too much of a back bend. So I am actually drawing my core in here. As we exhale, we lean forward and we bend the arms, and I'm not letting the elbows splay out to the sides. I'm actually drawing the elbows in, leaning forward. Inhale, we come back. Exhale, knee comes in towards the forehead and we lower the knee down. So that's one. So let's try maybe 3 to each side. We'll see how we go. But yeah, wrists, shoulders, if you're struggling with them this morning, perhaps don't do this one. Okay, so knees are together, hands a little further forward. Exhale, all breath. As you breathe in, take one leg back, doesn't matter which one, flex the foot, draw the belly in towards your spine so you're strong through your core. Exhale, lean forward, squeeze the elbows in or back towards you. Inhale, straighten the arms, come back to center, and exhale, draw that knee in towards your forehead and lower the knee. Let's try the other side. So breathe in, take the other leg back, flex the foot. Exhale, come forward. You don't have to come too far forward if you find it a bit challenging. Some of you might like to try and come all the way down towards the ground. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, knee to forehead and lower the knee. Okay, so let's keep going. Inhale, flex the foot, belly in. Exhale. Come back to center, knee to forehead, lower the knee. Breathe in, Come forward, back to center, knee to forehead, and lower. Do one more to each side in your own time, drawing the belly button in towards your spine as you take the leg back. Good. I can see some of your legs in the air. It's good. Strong work. When you finish, just come down into child pose for a moment. And you might like to circle your wrists, just to make a few circles in either direction with the wrists. Okay, now we're going to have a go at plank. So it's another upper body strengthening practice. Again, shoulders and wrists are used quite strongly. So any issues there, work with cat or do down face dog pose or some other variation, or just have a rest. Okay, so we're going to come onto all fours. We're going to start this way this morning. And spread the fingers wide, middle fingers pointing straight ahead. When you're ready, just take one leg back, tuck the toes under, and then take the other leg back and tuck those toes under. So with plank, the body's in a straight line. We're endeavoring to open the back of the knees. We're not holding the breath, so keep breathing. When you've had enough, we're going to do it twice. Just bend the legs, and you can come into child if you like. Have a moment there to rest. Okay, and then when you're ready, let's go into it for a second time. So come up onto all fours, spread the fingers wide. You know, these poses, I often like to think about my hands being feet. Like if we think the yogis in ancient times looked to nature for our yoga practice, we're inspired by nature. Now, plank isn't an animal, but I often like to think of like a tiger or a cat. We are in that position to start. And these have to be very strong. They're connecting us with the earth. Our arms and hands are like feet. All right, when you're ready, take one leg back, tuck the toes and the other. Those of you who want to challenge yourself a little bit more this morning, hold it a little bit longer. Perhaps even try lowering yourself down into Chaturanga Dandasana. I'm not going to demonstrate that, only if you know that. Give it a go, squeezing the elbows in and lowering yourself down towards the ground. Couple more breaths. Keep the breath flowing. Keep smiling, it's nearly over. Okay, let's come into child. Sigh the breath away. And then gently release. And we're going to slowly and carefully make our way up into a standing position. No rush. Give it a bit of a shake. We're going to start off with our bouncing. As many of you know, it's a bit of a favorite practice of mine. So feet comfortable distance apart, spread your toes. So again, really conscious of that connection with the earth beneath. These are now your feet. And the legs, strong, firm foundation. So you feel solid on the earth and also supported by the earth. So let's start to bounce. And you can flick and shake the arms. You can sway. You can sigh the breath out through the mouth. Really good practice if you've been feeling a bit overwhelmed, you know, thinking a lot, worrying a lot, spending a lot of time in your head. Good. And then just start to slow that movement down. Come back to center. Take a deep breath in and sigh it away. Okay, let's do a very slow moving meditation now. So feet are hip width, arms just relaxed by your side, shoulders relaxed. Let's breathe in, raise the arms out to the side, pause and exhale, and pause empty. Inhale, take the arms up above, pause full, and exhale. Pause empty. So your arms might be moving a bit quicker. We've all got different lung capacity, so don't feel you have to match mine exactly. Breathe in and pause. Breathe out, pause empty. Breathe in, pause full, and exhale. Pause empty. If you'd like to challenge yourself a little bit more now, let's add a balance. Come up onto your tiptoes, pause, exhale. Keep the face soft. Last one. Good. Bring the hands to prayer. Moving into circle of joy. So if you're not familiar with this, just watch and follow along. Inhale, little pause, and exhale, round the back. Pause empty. Breathe in, stretch up tall, pause full. Exhale. Interlace the fingers. We're going to add a forward bend here. So breathe in, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and breathe out, come into a forward bend. Arms may lift up and over the head. Now stay here for one breath. Carefully and slowly come up. Inhale, palms touch, and exhale. Bring the opposite index finger in front this time. Breathe in. Breathe out. Inhale. And exhale. So again, opposite index finger in front. Breathe in. And come forward. Stay here for a breath. Inhale, come up. Palms touch. And exhale. Release your arms down. Okay, this is another flowing movement which incorporates a forward bend. So follow along with me. I might do it sideways so you get that a good angle. So we're going to, feet are hip width. We're going to breathe in, take the arms up overhead, bring the palms to touch. And as you exhale, we swan dive forward. Legs can be bent or straight. And we interlace the fingers on the lower back. As we breathe in, we lift up halfway. So have a look if you're not quite sure. Squeezing the shoulder blades together. And then on the next exhale, we let the hands go and they slide down the backs of the legs, perhaps to your shins or perhaps to the floor. And we stay here for a breath. Now we carefully, so any lower back issues, bend the legs, carefully come all the way up. Arms come up above the head, palms touch. And bring your hands down through your center. So let's do this twice more. So breathe in. And then swan dive forward. Interlace your fingers on the lower back, legs bent or straight. Inhale, lift up halfway, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Exhale, let your hands go, let them slide down the backs of the legs to your legs or to the floor. And stay here this time for 2 breaths. Coming up carefully, inhale, take the arms all the way up. And exhale. Last one, breathe in. Little pause. Swan dive forward, interlace your fingers. Now this time, those of you who want to challenge yourself a little bit more, as you inhale and lift up halfway, take your arms out to the sides. Have a look if you're not sure. Exhale, fall forward, and we stay for 3 breaths this time. Again, any sinus congestion, headaches, don't stay down too long, just maybe 1 breath and then come up. Even high blood pressure, you may not want to stay down for the full amount of time. When you're ready, inhale, carefully come up. Pause full and exhale. Good. Release the hands. Let's take the legs wide. We're going into triangle. So turn the left toes around, right toes in a little bit, shoulders relaxed, heart open. Breathe in. Turn to the left. Breathe out. Lean over. Take the hand down. Right arm up, or it can rest on your hip if that's better for your shoulder. You can keep looking towards your left big toe, or you can look forward. Some of you might be able to turn to look up towards your right thumb. Find your breath. Bring the head to neutral. Inhale, come up. And exhale. Let's turn the feet around. Breathe in. Turn to the right. Breathe out. So again, this top hand may rest on your hip, or it might be extended up. And just be careful with your neck. Feel the breath flowing in and out, not holding the breath. Bring the head to neutral. Inhale, come up. And exhale. Release the legs. Walk on the spot. Arms a shake. We're going to come down to sit. And we're going to stretch forward. So either sitting cross-legged or kneeling, or legs maybe out in front of you. Breathe in. And fold forward. I'd like to close the eyes and turn your gaze towards your third eye, Ajna chakra. Just taking note of your internal experience right now. Notice what's happening to the breath, how the body's feeling, how your heart is feeling. Notice if your mind is racing, if it's quite busy, or if things are starting to settle and quieten. No judgment. Gently come up. If the legs are crossed, let's change them over again. If they're stretched out in front, just keep them as they are. Breathe in. And come forward. Let's gently come up. Raise your arms out to the side. No matter how the legs are, we can still do this. We're going to twist to the left. So tuck the hand onto the thigh or the knee, turning to look over the left shoulder. Remember, with the twist, we're always twisting from the lower part of the spine first. The head is the last to move in the twist. So if it feels a bit tense in the neck, don't turn the head quite as far. Just ease off a little bit. Sitting up nice and tall, trying not to lean back into that left hand. Breathe in, come to center. Long, tall spine and twisting to the right. Might feel quite different on this side compared to the first side. And gently come back to center. Okay, before we come down to lie, we're going to work with a meditation for about 4 or 5 minutes. So if you'd like to maybe pop socks on, get comfortable, any support you'd like under the buttocks. You can sit back against the wall if you'd like to. And again, you might like to incorporate a mudra of your choice. Another really beautiful mudra is Dhyani mudra, a mudra of contemplation, where we rest one palm on top of the other and the tips of the thumbs join. And when you find your seat, just lightly closing the eyes, soften the shoulders, soften the skin of the face. Some of you may be familiar with this practice. It's a bit of a favorite of mine, especially when we're focusing on the idea of dwelling in the pause. So I invite you to imagine now that you're standing on a train platform. So you're standing at a platform and you're looking towards the tracks, the train tracks. And I invite you to imagine that each one of your thoughts is a train carriage. So at this point in the practice, we're just looking at the train carriages and we're trying not to get attached to one particular carriage, one particular thought. So we're trying to not go off into the forward with the train and follow that carriage along, that thought. We're trying to stay very much in the present moment, in the here and now. So keep yourself steady, gazing forward at the carriages of the train. The train might be moving really, really fast, speeding, zooming along, lots and lots of carriages. For some of you, they might be moving very, very slowly. Again, no judgment. Just watching the carriages as they move on by. not becoming attached to a thought or one of the carriages. Each carriage arises and passes by. Now I invite you to see if you can gaze at the space between the carriages. So now try not to focus on the carriages themselves, but look at the little gaps, the space between the carriages. Put all of your attention, all of your concentration on those spaces. And see if you can move through that space, through that gap to the other side. What's beyond the carriages? What's beyond thought? What is over there? The carriages may be coming quite frequently, but we're not concerned with them anymore. They're just passing along, or perhaps zooming along. But we're connected with this space, this gap, and what's through that gap on the other side. Hold your attention there. Now let's gently release this practice and we'll chant 3 Oms together. So if you'd like to bring the hands to the heart space in Namaskar Mudra, breathing in. Gently bow your head down, looking deep within. And gently lift the head up. So we'll come to lie down for relaxation now, about 5 minutes. Those of you who prefer to remain seated, feel free to just sit here. Make sure that you're warm, the eyes closed. Otherwise, lying down, get comfortable, make sure you're warm, that your lower back has all the support it needs. So you can always grab a chair, even the dining room chair, and pop your lower legs up on the edge of the chair or legs up the wall. And as you get comfortable, you might like to say to yourself as you breathe in, I have arrived. And as you exhale, I am home. I have arrived. I am home. Thich Nhat Hanh writes, Living from a place of silence doesn't mean never talking, never engaging, or doing things. It simply means that we are not disturbed inside. There isn't constant internal chatter. If we're truly silent, then no matter what situation we find ourselves in, we can enjoy the sweet spaciousness of silence. Now, very gently, just start to become aware of your surroundings. If you're lying down, I invite you to step the feet up close to the buttocks. And let's all just rest one hand over the heart, the other hand over the belly. And as we did at the beginning, just take a few quiet breaths into the chest as you inhale, and emptying from the belly as you exhale. A little pause at the top of the inhale. And a little pause at the end of the exhale. And I invite you to ponder a couple of questions today. Perhaps you're already thinking, reflecting on these questions. But there are two questions that I've been thinking a lot about myself over the last few weeks. You might like to even do a little bit of writing, and please feel free to catch up with me if you want to chat, share with me, send me an email. I'm very happy to talk about these questions. So the two questions are: one, with this pandemic, since we've all gone into isolation, the first question is, what do you miss? What do I miss? And the second question is, what change or changes to your life or the way you've been living will you make going forward, so post-corona, if any? You might just want to go back to the way things were, but have you been thinking about, is there something you've thought, gee, I don't want to do what I was doing before? What changes to the way you've been living will you make, or would you like to make going forward? And I'd like to conclude just by sharing a final passage. This is from the writer Jen Nicomedes Stone. The beauty of silence is that it simply is. There is nothing artificial or engineered about it. Silence offers an opening that cannot be immediately defined, an opportunity to take the time to unearth the mysteries and lessons that exist within. So when you're ready, let's come up to sit. Sometimes that's not easy, is it? We want to stay where we are. I know. It can be very nice lying down in fetal position. Come up to sit and take your arms out to the side. Let's take a deep breath in when you're ready and stretch your arms up overhead. Bring the palms to touch. And as you exhale, bring the hands down through your center, bowing your head down. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. I'll stick around for 5 or 10 minutes if anyone's got any questions or comments, or if you want to write a comment in the chat area, you can. Otherwise, enjoy this day. Enjoy reflecting on those two questions. Thank you.